Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D. I'm your host, Matt DiNardo. Great to have you with us for this episode. As you might know, I'm located in Richmond, Virginia, so I get the chance to fish some different types of water almost whenever I want, right? We have downtown Richmond is a tidal, brackish type river. You go to the west into the mountains of the Shenandoah Valley, you have some awesome trout streams, or you can go out to the Chesapeake Bay or the tidal streams and go for saltwater. So really located in some cool areas. And I've featured many different streams and many different fisheries in the Commonwealth. I've also taken you on some great excursions. I've had the chance to fish up in Alaska. I took you there in August 2024. I've done some fishing in the Keys, some fishing down in the Carolinas, going for false albies, and I've also gone out to the Bahamas to chase bonefish, the ghosts of the flats. But one place I've always wanted to go is Montana. And if you've joined us for many of my episodes, you have heard me talk about Montana trout hunters a number of times. And I've had their head guide and owner, DeLeon, on a number of times. And every time Darrel is on, he says, Matty D, you've got to come out to Montana. Our fish are wild. They are gorgeous. And the streams are amazingly clear and the scenery cannot be beat. Well, finally this year, I had the chance to take Darrel up on that offer. And in the beginning of July, I went out to Helena, Montana, and he took me to his home stream, the Missouri River in Craig, Montana. We fished together for 3 days. Here is Off the Hook with Matty D with DeLeon of Montana Trout Hunters. This has been a great trip so far, not just fishing-wise, but seeing Montana, seeing your home turf. But let's talk a little bit about this river. We're on the Missouri River, which is your home river. You do guide on some other rivers as well, but this river is special to you. You cut your teeth over a decade ago on this river.
Correct. Yeah, the Missouri has just been my home water. It's where I learned to guide. It's where I spend 95% of my time, and it's the best river in the lower 48. It's just absolutely fantastic. And it's a great river for a guy like me, a little bit older guy. And some of these other rivers they're really fast moving, and it's a young man's game. So kind of dating myself here, but it's a great river to be on, and just the size of the fish are unmatched. As we've talked before, our average fish is 18 inches. And I know you didn't believe me, but I don't know that we've caught a fish under 17 inches this week.
No, it has been fantastic. We've been now on our third day here. We're taking some time out to do this podcast. There's been a mix of rainbows and browns. They have been gorgeous fish. The rainbows are so brightly colored. The browns have the beautiful spots, even some orange belly. I mean, the waters are cold. Is that what helps to give us this great coloring in the fish?
I could be completely wrong, but kind of my theory on what gives the brown trout that specific color is those big browns sit in the sun. So they go to super shallow water. So in the wintertime, you'll see browns, or you'll see a smaller brown, and they'll be kind of chromy. But your bigger browns you're gonna see with the orange and the yellow, and it's because they sit in less than a foot of water, and I think it's just God camouflaging the fish.
Makes it really good. Now,
Yep.
As we've been going through the past couple of days, you have shown me a number of different techniques. So let's talk a little bit about a client coming out, working with you for the first time or a repeat time. You do different techniques depending on what the water is you're fishing, what's going on in the hatch around us. You're really keen on every little step of what to expect on this river.
Right. I don't want to just do one simple technique. I don't want to just fish underneath an indicator. And when people, it's their first day, yeah, that's generally where you have to start. But there's also opportunities for dry fly fishing or a dry dropper fishing or a little bit of hopper fishing. And if the clients are picking it up pretty well, I've had people actually catch fish on dry fly on their very first day. And the more opportunities, the more different techniques that you expose people to, the faster they grow in this game. If you just fish them under an indicator all the time, then they don't really learn anything else. And so I try to, as we've talked about before, I really try to focus on the education side of it. And I want people to learn and grow how to do this. And the more I can teach them how to do it, the more opportunities are opened up. So when you see fish that are rising, we pull over, we change what we're doing. But if you don't teach people how to dry fly fish, you just have to row past rising fish, and that's a frustrating thing.
And I think that's been something that I've seen time and time again since being here, is the educational aspect. I consider myself an intermediate angler, not advanced. I understand some of the basics. I do fail in some areas. And every day that we fished, you've worked with me on my casting, my presentation. And I think that's really important because this is a game where we're always learning.
Correct, exactly. And there was times over the last couple days, I'm like, that'll get an eat, and it did.
Right.
Because I knew it was the perfect presentation. It was too good just to not get an eat. And sure enough, there it came. And there's other times you've heard me say, nobody's ever going to eat that.
And I think that's important too, because you're honest with the client, right? We're spending the day with you. If I just sit here and made bad cast after bad cast, you just let me do it, I walk away at the end of the day going, why didn't we catch any fish? Mm-hmm. Whereas when you say, hey, we need to correct this on day 1 and day 2, and even sometimes for me, day 3, we then get better, proportionately better, each and every day.
Absolutely. And you have, from the first day to this day, you've grown in many aspects and stuff. It's really hard to make every cast right all day long for 8 hours. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, but we want more consistency. We want more good casts than bad casts. And so when you do get that clutch moment, you make that good cast and it's rewarded. And like this morning, the fish just blew up on your dry fly, and I go, that was a dry fly eat. And you're like, I'm counting to 2 like you told me. I was like, God bless you. I mean, it was amazing. Well, and it was just because the way he blew up on that, there was no way I was holding that under. I would have messed that up so bad.
All right. And so let's explain to our listeners and our viewers, the thing on day 1 is you said, look, we're fishing this certain technique. We had a dry fly and a dropper underneath. And you said, if the dry fly just goes down, set the hook immediately. You said, but if we see the splash on top, the take on top, make sure you count to 2. This way we know the fish has got it in its mouth, and then you can set the hook versus ripping it out of its mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said it exactly. And, your first eat, you took it right away from him.
I did. That was day 1.
That was day 1. And we didn't get any opportunities on that yesterday. We were working with your daughter a lot yesterday, and the day was about her. And then today, you came in a clutch moment. And the hardest is, it's a big eat. And that hopper that we had on today, it's a big mouthful. And so, when a lot of times they'll sip it really slow. And a lot of times I've seen fish eat 3, 4, 5 bites, especially on a salmon fly. I've watched fish eat a salmon fly in 5 bites. So, and that's why I'll see teeth marks in a foam hopper. Mm-hmm. And, but the way that brown trout blew up on that fish, on that fly this morning, I'd have yanked it right out of his mouth. But you held it together, man. That was just ice water in your veins.
What's they say? They say the blind squirrel finds a nut, right?
Well, you did great.
And so let's talk a little bit more about that. So, okay, so we work on casting. You do that with every client. You work on presentation with every client. Now I've hooked a fish. You work on, hey, this is how we fight the fish from the drift boat, because many anglers like myself are used to standing in a river, and it's different.
It is different. And, one of the big things that we worked on immediately is you threw a lot of side angle pressure. And when we're standing in a stream and a fish is upriver of us, it's safe to assume that his head is facing upriver. So side angle pressure is appropriate. From a drift boat, the fish are doing this. We never know which way their head is facing. And so side angle pressure is not the best technique for us. We want a straight up and down pressure, and we want to follow our fish around, and we want that pressure to be constant, even, and consistent. With his only option to relieve the pressure is to come to the surface, where I'll be happily waiting with the net.
Right. And then we're happily waiting with the camera, and we get the video and the pictures, of course.
Yeah.
So okay, so we've talked a little bit about some of the techniques and this. Let's go back just a bit. You started Montana Trout Hunters how many years ago?
9 years ago.
9 years ago. And every year your season starts exactly when, Darrel?
Around April.
Okay.
We'll get going in April, and then we finish up around middle of October.
And during that time, the trout you're targeting go through different stages of life. They come out of a spawn, then they're fattening up. And so does that present different degrees of difficulty, let's say, for a guide working with clients?
So our rainbow spawn in the spring, we leave them alone, stay away from them. In Montana, Montana does not stock one fish in one river. Everything that is, all the fish you've caught this week, we're all born in this river. Everything is natural reproducing in all of our rivers. So we want to leave the spawning fish alone. So for me, I go to different sections of water that aren't heavy with spawners. And a lot of them run up into tributaries, but there are a fair number of main river spawners, and we kind of leave those alone. And that's a good opportunity to catch some browns early season there, because those browns will kind of move into some different water because it's void and it's good water. And then they come out and they're long and skinny, and then they fatten up really quick. And then in September, those brown trout go into pre-spawn, and then a lot of our brown trout move up into tributaries and spawn in there as well. So there's good opportunities there. I like early September, last kind of opportunity to really catch a really beautiful brown, and they're really colored up at that time, and getting a little kype jaw and everything. They're pretty fascinating.
Really special fish. You love, I mean, even today, past couple of days, you've always said, I love my office, because as we've seen in the pictures and we've seen the video, this is an amazing office. I mean,
it is.
The canyons, the mountains around. How does it never gets old?
Not for me.
No.
Not for me. We were into our trip 2 minutes into our trip, and you were so focused on fishing, and I'm like, stop. There's an osprey that's about to dive on a fish. I'm like, you have to see this. Like, we got a lot of time to fish, but you need to watch this. And you got the opportunity to watch an osprey dive on a fish twice, and it was incredible. And
not just osprey, we've seen golden eagles, we've seen bald eagles, we've seen bighorn sheep, deer. You got to keep watching, because there is abundant wildlife around you that you don't get sometimes on a stream running through some city or even some kind of suburbia. Exactly.
And like yesterday, I told you and Alex, I said, hey, we're going through the canyon section. It's beautiful. Take time today, and I'll point out some of my favorite views today, but take time to just look around and look at the rock features. And we saw a golden eagle attack a bald eagle yesterday. It was incredible. I've never seen that in 12 years. And that's the nice thing, is being on the water, 120 days a year, I just get to see some just unique stuff. And, every year there's always a few firsts, and you're just like, I've never seen that.
So you've mentioned her a couple of times, my
Yes.
daughter. And so I want to talk about the way that you handled my daughter, because I think a lot of memories, as we talked about before, can be made between a father and a child, or a mother and a child.
Correct.
It's a very special place. Now, my daughter has thrown a fly line twice in her life, and not effectively at all. The ride up to where we were going to put in, you explained to her some of the techniques that she was going to go through. Tell me about your process when you have an absolute newbie like my daughter, how you get them in that mindset of what to expect and how to approach the day.
So I like to teach on the water. I don't like to teach on grass or on land. I want to teach from the water, because it's just, you get the feedback, the tension from the water, and mending and everything. And I spent about 35 minutes with Alex yesterday, just going over the casting out the left side of the boat, casting out of the right side of the boat, how to transition from the left to the right side of the boat so she doesn't tangle up with you when one of you has a fish on. Mending, we went through that over and over and over again. And then just a couple unique things to me, what a strip is, what I'm expecting, how to manage your slack, how to cast with two hands. And I spend that time with them, because when I lift the anchor and we start going in motion, I don't want to be telling her something for the first time while we're in motion. I want to tell everything up front. And yes, there's lots of reminders as we did all day yesterday, but I want to just set that great foundation. I gave her a lot of time to practice. And when I felt she had it good enough, I'm like, okay, it's good enough. Let's go. Let's put it in motion. And we did. And we built and we built and we built. And after 4 hours, she really started to put a nice foundation together. And then in the last 2 miles yesterday, she was clutch. And it was in through some really difficult water. And I said, hey, I need everything I've been barking at you about all day long matters right now. And it did, and it paid off, and she did fantastic, and she didn't tangle in some super technical fast water. I was very impressed with her.
And so I think that's interesting because you pushed her, like you kept feeling, where is her limit? Where is her limit? And you push a little more and you push a little more. And until you found the limit, which I don't know that you may have found so much with her, but I think you do that with any client. What is their limit? Where can I push them to? And then can I push them 1% past today, 1% past tomorrow to build.
Right. And so that's exactly it. It's reading your client. How much can I push on this? And her being a collegiate athlete at a high level, I knew I could push her a lot harder than I did. I never got anywhere near her limit. There's other people that, men and women, just, I gotta stop and just be like, okay, we'll work on it more again tomorrow.
Right.
And that's where the 3-day trip we've talked about before, the value of a 3-day trip. That first 4 hours on your first day is pretty rough. It's like an F-15 fighter jet going straight up. It's a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot going on. And then after that first day, after the first day, you're like really starting to figure it out. Next day you come back and do a little bit better. Actually, most people do quite a bit better on the second day. And then the third day, they're really firing on all cylinders. And that 3-day trip just built such a wonderful foundation for somebody who's really interested in turning this into a life sport.
And I think that's interesting you say, because yes, you'll do a 1-day guided trip, or you'll build even something for a client that might be even bigger than 3 days. But 3 days you have found over your time is that sweet spot, because it's, let's get to know each other, let's work hard the second day, and the third day you're calling out, I need 5 feet left, I need 10 feet left, I need to, give me 2 strips in, whatever. I mean, the client is just clicking at that point.
Right. And like we talked about in the beginning, you and I, for the first couple hours, you and I were not on the same page, because you'd been with other guides before, and I'm trying to figure out how you're going to respond to my commands, and you're trying to figure out what I mean when I'm telling you this. And it's just part of that first few hours is just getting to know each other. Right. And ever since that first 2 or 3 hours, ever since then, we've been, pretty dialed in with each other.
Yeah, it's learning your language on this river, and so there's that quick learning curve, and you have to adapt. And I'll even question saying, okay, I think you mean this, and you're like, no, Matt, I actually mean this. I'm like, got it, and then I have to perform to that spot, right?
And that's exactly it. And when you invited me last year up to the Salmon River, you were telling me stuff, and I would have been so lost without you last year. I was like, you're doing what? Like, huh? Like, there's no way I would have figured that out on my own. And that's just it. Every river is different. Yeah. Always listen to your guide. And because every situation's a little bit different, and do yourself the favor and listen to what they're saying. Right. And because they know how to catch fish on that river.
And that's exactly, and please, let's make sure that people understand, I am by no means a guide on the Salmon River, but I've fished it for 35 years. Right. So I know some intricate things because I've done it wrong, then done it right. And so I've worked it. And to bring someone like you, which was an absolute pleasure for me. I loved every minute of it because you are a professional fishing guide. You know how to fish. So I can say to you, this is what you need to do. And you're like, okay, I need to high stick here, but I'm going to feel some ticking, which is the weight. And then all of a sudden I'm going to get a pause. And that pause is the steelhead just hammering that fly. And when I set, it's going to go ballistic. And I don't know if it took you 5 minutes on the first day, but once you figure that out, the smile on your face with these pictures.
Oh, Oh, it was fantastic, and it was so weird because you used so much more weight than I did.
Right.
Would have ever thought to use, and then not fishing with an indicator was more different for me. And yes, you're not a guide.
Right.
You're a professional, news guy,
Right.
weatherman. But you were the guide I needed on that day, and it was incredible. We had an awesome 3 days, and I caught a ton of fish and some absolutely beautiful fish.
And you're welcome back, and we'll get to that another time. But and people are seeing the great pictures too. Let's get back to Montana, because
Yes, sir.
I have loved this. If we can break away from the Missouri River, just to tell people, you do also work a little bit at times, on occasion, on the Madison River as well.
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what is that difference between the Missouri and the Madison, if you can draw some differences and similarities?
So the Missouri flows at about 3 to 4 miles an hour, and the Madison is about 8 to 11 miles an hour. So much faster, much less forgiving, especially for mistakes. And the Missouri, as well as the Madison, is busy. Our river here is quite a bit wider than the Madison. You make a mistake on the Madison, it might take a while to get to where you can put an anchor down safely to be able to retie or untie a knot or whatever the case may be. On the Missouri, we can usually quickly get pulled over in most situations, help you untie. A little slower pace. I like this river better for learning. The Madison's a awesome experience for folks, and just fishes a little bit different. And and folks, the reason I have my Madison permits is folks want to try something different. Oh, hey, I fished the Missouri for 5 years now. Can we go try a different river?
Right.
And we have that option.
Sure. But this, again, being your home river, the Missouri River. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go on a little bit more about some of the package op. We talked about a 1 day, you do a 2 day, a 3 day. If some angler wants to come out and book you Monday to Friday,
yep,
that's an option too.
100%. Actually, starting on next Monday through Friday, I have 2 guys. They were out 6 days last year, and I talked them into shortening it so they could stay off the weekend. And so they're with me Monday through Friday next week.
Right. And that's a special package that's not listed really on your website, but it's a call me up and let's discuss the details and that kind of a thing.
That's pretty much every trip is a phone call. I love the phone calls because then I can really dial it in for people. I had a couple guys this year called up. They were actually looking for a 1 day, but they'd never done it before. And I talked him into a 3 day. I was like, hey, you really need to do 3 days. And it took them 3 days. Like I said earlier, most people, it clicks with them on the second day. These guys, it clicked with them on the third day.
Right. And
they're like, wow, we thank you for, selling us on the 3 day because we needed that. And they booked 3 days again, same dates for next year. So.
And I think it's important to point, your price point is for 1 guy or 2 guys. It's not a different price. Like you don't increase because, I have a second person in the boat. You have a price point for the boat for your work.
I'm $50 less for a single angler versus 2 anglers.
Right.
So it's just to cover flies and lunches.
Right. And let's talk about that. So what does a day look like, Darrel, for those that don't know, in terms of start to finish and what goes on in between?
I'm up at 5 and I'm making lunches. And then I drive about an hour to the river. Like it with you guys. I picked you guys up in town, drove with me, had some great conversation, talked about a lot of stuff on the way. Swing into the fly shop, pick up any flies or supplies that I might need, grab my shuttle, determine where I'm going to go. We jump on the water. We fish for about 4 hours. We have a nice lunch, fish for about another 4 hours. Then we drive home and then clean my boat, clean my cooler, repack my cooler, replenish my drinks. And, a short day for me is about 14 hours.
Yeah. And the total time on the water for a client is about a solid 8 hours.
7 to 8 hours is what I shoot for.
Yeah. And that doesn't include the drive time.
Correct. 7 to 8 water hours.
Yeah. Which is more than enough because you're fishing morning, you have the midday sun if there happens to be, you get some of the evening, which might be a little bit cooler, or maybe you get a bug hatch. And so during that time, you get a variety of weather elements, let's say, and different insect elements that could give us different opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that makes it really nice. Let's talk about, what does a client need to bring with them? What do they need to have ahead of time once they've booked you?
Polarized sunglasses are always a must, and rain gear is always a must. You know, in the summer months. If in the spring season or the fall season, I always recommend a puffy coat or bring layers. I have all the gear. If you have gear that you like and you want to haul it, bring it with you. Like in your case, you being a lefty, I knew we were going to fish multiple rods. I said, you don't need to pack your rods. I have plenty of rods. Just bring your left-handed reels, and we'll go from there.
It makes it a little bit easier this way. You're not turning reels around, flipping them, and all that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah, and you just don't have to haul that all the way from the East Coast out here, paying extra baggage fees. You know, I have top-tier equipment.
Yep.
You know, my rods are $600 to $1,100 for rods, $700-800 reels, top-of-the-line fly lines. So I use top quality gear.
So you're providing everything from, as I like to call it, the nuts and bolts, the fly line, the fly rods, the reels, the flies. What about a fishing license?
Montana fishing license is not included. You have to purchase that online, and they offer, you know, a 1-day or a 5-day or an annual license.
Right. And as we purchase those, we then upload them to your website, because there's kind of a set of forms that you're filling out as a client, so that, you know, we've done everything from A to B. You've kind of put this checklist together.
Right. Yeah. I work with a company named Brindle Shoot, and they, my liability waiver is on there. I have people sign that electronically. It's just part of my insurance. Insurance company requires that. Also uploading the fishing license there. And then it's really cool because AI extracts the information from your fishing license and puts it into a report that is required for me. So it saves me a little bit of legroom. It costs me a few dollars, but it actually saves me quite a bit of time.
Right. And then we're fishing legal, and there's no real worry on your part.
Exactly. And then the other side of it too is there's some checklists in there. There's it asks you questions, a pre-trip checklist, asks you about any food sensitivities, stuff like that. Anything that I need to be aware of beforehand so I can be prepared for the day.
Right, because you're making lunches from scratch. You're making tremendous sandwiches. You're putting things together, and you want to make sure you make it good for that client so that we don't have some sort of allergic reaction.
Of course, yeah. That's the last thing I would need out here.
Okay. What about waders? Do clients need to bring waders, or are they not needed because we're primarily fishing in a boat?
Waders are great when it's raining. We're predominantly not wade fishing. Obviously, summertime now, you've been in the water. It's a nice 60 degrees. It feels fantastic. There's no need for waders unless it's pouring rain, and then it's nice to have waders on and just. Well, we got hit with a pretty hard storm on day one. Yeah. You know, I threw you a pair of spare waders. You threw them on. You know, we had that on for half hour. We took it off. Sun came back out.
It was good.
We're all good to go.
It was all good.
But you know, spring and fall waders are not a bad idea. Also, fly shops rent the waders in case you need them. So if you don't want to haul all that stuff, it's pretty easy.
And if you do bring waders with you, what about boots? Not studded boots, though.
No studded boots. So I have C-deck on my flooring, and a studded boot will just tear that up.
Right. So cushion, what do you call it?
Felt boots.
Felt boots is where we are. Or just even if you really want
the soles,
you can go just stocking foot without anything.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Darrel, what else should a client know about booking you? You said you like that first conversation to be over the phone to kind of get to know a little bit about maybe what they've done.
One of the big things is book early. And it's become really, really busy, especially if you want a specific time. June books in June of the year before, July books in July of the year before. It's very, very busy. So especially if you're having a larger group, you know, more than one boat, book that stuff early so I can get you the best guides as I possibly can.
So let's talk a little bit about that. If I have a group of, let's say my salmon group.
Yes.
Guys, right. I have 10 guys.
10 guys, 5 boats.
A lot of, you know, so I call you up. Hey, we want to come out to Montana for 3 days. You have other guides that you trust, that you work with to make that happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But they're top tier guides, right, and they book early.
Right.
And not just with me, they book with other people as well. So, you know, if you want to book all 10 of those guys, we need to start having that conversation today.
Right.
Not in April.
And
next
today
year.
for 27.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Or even if we're thinking maybe it's a 28 type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get it on.
A year in advance is great, especially on a big group like that. Then I can get you top tier guys. If you call in June for that June, you're probably going to get a guy and it's his first year, and we've all been there.
Right.
But just you have to understand that's probably what you're going to get.
Right. Let's talk about fishing the river. As I've been out here, and I'm sure you do this with other clients, we have fished 3 different sections of the river. Is that standard for you, or are you just constantly, you know what the river's doing? Do you ever hit the same spot twice, or do you like to take clients to different? We did an 8-mile trip, a 13-mile trip. Today's a 14-mile trip, if I'm not correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the nice thing is when I have skilled anglers in the boat, it opens up our options, right? So if people are kind of limited in their skill set, I might have to hit the same stretch of water 2 or 3 days in a row. Also kind of depends on the fish. Right now, the river's fishing pretty good top to bottom because it's summer season. We have lots of bugs. We've seen midges and caddis and PMDs and trichos. And that's why I said, Matty, this is when you need to come because we got a lot of bugs. We have a lot of options to do that. But the nice thing is with a guy like you, I can take you top to bottom. We did some dry fly fishing upriver first day. Those fish are super highly pressured. And we still fooled a few and just got some absolute dandies in the boat. And then yesterday we went into the canyon, saw a different stretch there, did a lot more nymphing in the canyon, a little faster water there. And then today we're in the most difficult section in the lower river. And we've had a great day.
Yeah, I've had a great day all 3 days. It has been a delight. Anything else that we should tell people who are watching this, listening, about what they need to know about coming out here to Montana trout hunters and working with you?
Just come on out and have a good time.
That's the number one thing.
And just come have fun and bring your offspring, bring your son, bring your daughter, and fishing with your buddies is great. But those father-son, father-daughter trips, those are memories they will never, ever, ever forget. And to me, they're so special. And people are like, thank you for pushing me to do that because my kid won't stop talking about it.
And that was my thing, right? Like Alex has not really fly fished, as we talked about. And while I was in the boat yesterday, I mean, I might have fished 2 hours of the 8 because I was videoing and picturing and watching you work with her. And I was in awe because your hand was so gentle yet firm and like, hey, Alex, this is how we want to do it. And like, it was just, and then when she landed that first fish and she threw her arms up finally, and you gave her a high five and the smiles, just awesome. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's a memory that I will remember, and I know she will as well.
Yeah, I've been blessed to guide over 150 people to their very first fish ever in their life. And I've guided over 700 people to their very first fish on a fly rod. And so I live vicariously through my clients. People are like, oh, you must get to fish all the time. And I'm like, no, I get to fish about 5 days a year. And I usually have to pay somebody to take me fishing. I just don't. I get to row a lot. So I live vicariously through my clients. And watching the joy that she had, I think I was more excited than she was. And that's pretty tall order because she was pretty stoked.
She was very stoked. So once again, Darrel, I can't thank you enough for joining me on this podcast. More importantly, I can't thank you enough for having me out with you and offering me the opportunity, because you had 2 sets of dates that came available very late, and you're like, hey, Matty, can you make any of these dates? And I'm like, we're doing the early July. Let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
That's just it. Cancellations happen.
Right.
And when those happen, I'm on the phone because I can fill those quickly.
Yeah.
Because people are always waiting in the wings for those dates.
Yeah. And it was great. So
Awesome.
Darrel, thank you so much. Once again, everyone, Montana Trout Hunters. You can check them out at montanatrouthhunters.com. But please call Darrel, have a conversation before you think about booking. Understand what you're going to be facing in terms of the time of the year. He can help you out, give him knowledge of what kind of fishing you have done. It helps him build a better base. Montana Trout Hunters, everyone. Come to beautiful Montana and fish the Missouri. I promise you won't be disappointed. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Off the Hook with Matty D.